Next, the risk behavior is also very much influenced by the degree of rationality. Okay, in most of the time, human will try to act rationally according to their risk behavior, but it will not be necessary that every time the same person will think rationally. Okay, so that's why we need to understand what is the client's risk tolerance, and we need to understand the human behavior, and also we need to understand the factors that affect a person to think and act rationally. Because when the person is not thinking or acting rationally, then he may not fall into the risk behavior that we have identified earlier. Okay, so what are the factors that actually influence the degree of rationality of a person? Okay, first, we understand the individual values and also the person belief system, because everyone has different background, has different belief system, has different value. So first we discuss about what is value. So value is actually a set of principle or a standard of behavior that one will hold up to. Okay, this is normally influenced by the what is taught to them, okay, that they are brought up, their family background, and also the surrounding. Okay, the second one will be the belief system. Okay, a person belief system is actually very much strengthened by the person experience or how the person is trained. These are the two things that may actually affect the degree of rationality of a person, and this is something that we need to understand and we need to identify, because it has been with them for a very long time, and this will be one of the fundamental judgment when they are doing risk assessment. So psychologists will call this as bounded reality, because they see the reality from what they believe, what their value system are. Okay, so for example, for most of the time, okay, a person will think that stealing is not a good behavior, is something that is not right, but there might be someone that thinks that it is okay to steal, okay, due to the surrounding, because if they don't steal, they don't get to eat, they don't get to survive. Okay, so this is like very much caused by, the influence by the brought up, the surrounding, and also their experience. Okay, so another example will be like wearing a seatbelt. So when in Malaysia in the early 80s or 90s, when the seatbelt was made compulsory, okay, everyone feel that there is no need for that because it will not help. Okay, but the same person when travel on a plane, okay, will not object to wearing the seatbelt. Okay, but let's say let us calm down and rethink the situation again. Do you think it is more useful to wear a seatbelt in the car, or it is more useful to wear a seatbelt on a plane? Okay, so basically statistics do shows that wearing a seatbelt saves a lot of life. Okay, and we will assume that wearing a seatbelt on the plane may not still save the life. Okay, so but why people react differently in this situation? It is because of their value and also their belief system. Okay, so this is, as I mentioned earlier, is what psychologists call named as bounded reality. So the reality that is seen by the person rather than the reality is happening on the field. Okay, the second factor that may affect the degree of rationality will be overconfidence. Overconfidence is a situation that when a person over-believe in his or her judgment. Okay, why does this happen? It could be due to their experience also, okay, because they have done it a few times, okay, or maybe they are eager to have that thing happen, okay, or is in one of their wishful list, okay, so which is why that they try to skew towards believing that the situation will take place. So one example will be like when come to festive season, okay, so a person may decide want to sell Mandarin orange during Chinese New Year. Okay, they may be overconfident that it will sure fully so, okay, if you are selling Mandarin orange during festive season. But without understanding that there are also other seller, other importer. So a lot of time, okay, you may read in newspaper that when come near to Chinese New Year, festive season, a lot of sellers start to complain and say that they have a lot of stocks which is not sold off yet. Okay, but come back to the pre-Chinese New Year, why did they decide to order such amount of stock? Because they are overconfident that during the season they will be able to sell off all the Mandarin orange. Okay, the third factor that will affect the degree of rationality of a person will be like misled by a short run trends. Okay, so because sometimes as a human, the nearer memory is clearer, can I say so? Okay, so we may influence by what is happening recently compared to what had happened long time ago. Okay, for example, in a recent pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, a lot investor actually believe that glove industry will continue to grow. Okay, but it is very ironic that on another angle, actually everyone hopes that the pandemic will end. Okay, so why do we believe that the gloves company will continue to grow when on the other end we hope that the pandemic will end? Okay, so because during the period of time we see that a lot of people around us who invested in the glove industry made a lot of money and the price soared. Okay, so this is one example of a short run trend which actually misled the rationality in making decision. Okay, so we must understand that statistic only works when we have a good set of data or a big enough set of data for reference. Okay, so this is what we call as a law of large numbers. Okay, a very simple example is like flipping your coin. So when you flip your coin, you can either get head or tail. So if you flip the coin for 5 times, you may be getting 5. The 5 flip also you get head. Okay, or maybe there will be 4 tails and 1 head. So because you are flipping 5 times. So if let's say we don't understand about the law of large numbers, we may think that because 5 out of 5 is head, so we may say that the possibility of head to happen if you flip a coin will be 100%. Or if let's say in the event of 4 times, then it will be 80%. Okay, so when we understand about law of large numbers, then we may have to flip up to 200, 300 or 400 times. Then we will see that actually the possibility of any event to take place is 50-50. Okay, so this misled by short run trends is one of the cause or the factor that often affect the rationality when someone making a decision. Okay, the second one will be misjudging the magnitude of the risk. Okay, so we understand that when we talk about risk, there's a possibility of happening or not happening. But besides that, we also need to know that if let's say the event happen, what is the magnitude or what is the severity of the loss that could be caused by the event. So when we talk about this misjudging, it could be overestimate or it could be even underestimate. For an example that we discussed about the example that we discussed earlier, in the event of theft or burglary, so we may estimate that the loss may be 50 or 100,000 due to that we think that the thief can only bring away this much of stocks. Okay. However, the thief may be able to come with a larger vehicle, or they may be a lot more effective, and they are maybe able to move away more things. Then we may have underestimate the magnitude of the loss. Okay, so This is very much influenced by the familiarity lah, okay, or the experience of the person who have dealt before with the situation. Okay, the third one is will be the denial of risk. Okay, this normally happen when the risk is very low. Okay, so low risk is not equivalent to no risk. Okay, so low risk is just that the probability of happening is very low. It's not to say that the thing will not happen. Okay, for example, a lot of us will think that on a vacation on the island, will think that scuba diving is a very low risk activity, and everyone assume that it is no risk activity. But actually, it is still a risky activity, but only that the risk is very low when you are properly trained. Okay, so we have discussed 5 factors that affecting the degree of rationality of a person, which is individual values and belief system, overconfidence, misled by short-run trends, misjudging of magnitude of risk, and also denial of risk. Okay, the next one will be the influence of biased attitudes. Okay, this is one of the most interesting factors that affecting the degree of rationality of a person when towards their risk behavior. Okay, most people, if not everyone, tend to have bias up to certain extent. Okay, so in whatever situation, people will have their own perception and their own bias towards something. Okay, so what are the types of bias? Okay, so basically there are 4 types of bias when we discuss about this bias that affecting the degree of rationality. The first one is availability bias. So what do you understand about availability of bias? Availability bias basically means that the information is easily recalled, or most of the time is the most recent one. Okay, so this is one form of bias that normally will affect the degree of rationality of a person towards his or her risk behavior. Just like the example that we discussed earlier, the driving under alcohol effect. Okay, the wife, because of reading a newspaper or sharing of from a friend about accidents happen due to driving under influence of alcohol, so she perceived that the act is dangerous. So this is the availability bias. Another example that always affecting our industry will be like insurance claim. A lot of people when read about insurer denies a claim, so people will tend to say that insurance claim will not be easy. But these are due to insurance claim are already being published in the news, or being told in the news, or being shared, because these are all private and confidential. But in contrast to that, when someone fails to make a claim, then it will normally being made publicly known. So this is why one of the another example of availability bias, whereby people know about insurance claim not paid, but doesn't know about insurance claim paid. Okay, and one more is very much affecting our normal life. It's like a lot of people now saying that the crime rate is higher now compared to last time. So do you agree? Okay, all of this we cannot really make the judgment without having the proper data, I would say. But however, I have an idea that perhaps crimes now, whenever it happens, is being shared on social media due to the advancement of information technology. So the information tends to travel further and reach more people. So if let's say back to 20 years back, we might not know something that happened in another state or another country, and we can only read about it if let's say it come out in the newspaper or we seen it in the news. But today, it may be shared on multiple social media platforms. So it might give us a perception that the crime rate now is a lot higher compared to last time. However, we cannot conclude here unless we have the data and we can make an objective risk assessment. Okay, the second type of bias will be a familiarity bias. Okay, so as the saying of ignorance creates fear, knowledge dispels fear. Okay, although we say that, but actually it could be also a form of bias. Okay, because normally when we don't understand about the event, we will think that it's more risky, and when we learn more about it or we experience it more, then we may think that it's not that risky. Okay, so why is it also a form of bias? Okay, for example, a lot of investors, they will have their favorite counters when dealing with shares or stocks, because they have invested multiple times in the same stocks or shares, so they feel that they understand the company well, so they tend to bias in their decision when they are comparing two companies of the same nature. So rather than making decision based on the data or facts, they might prefer one over the other due to their familiarity. So the third one will be evidence bias. Okay, evidence bias is one of the bias that often confused with availability bias. Okay, because just now when we discuss about availability bias, we talk about because of news, because of the information shared to us. So is it also form of evidence that construct this evidence bias? No. Okay, evidence bias actually, on the other hand, actually means that most of us will try to seek evidence to support what we want to believe. Okay, I think many of us experience that either ourselves or with someone close to us. One of the simple example will be like, try to talk to a smoker. Is smoking risky to health? Okay, you know what smoker will do? He will try to find some evidence whereby the grandfather was smoking for 60 years but lived up to age 90, compared to another non-smoker only lived up to age 70. Okay, so this is one of the very valid example of evidence bias. A person tends to find an evidence to support his or her belief. Okay, then the last type of bias, the fourth one, will be illusion of control bias. Okay, so when we think that we have control over the thing, we will think that it is perceived that it is less risky when compared to when you are the control is with another person. So one of our daily life example will be like driving in a car. Okay, so you as the driver, is it less risky when you travel on the car when you are as a driver or when you are as a passenger? Is there any difference? But most people will tend to believe that if I am the driver, it will be less risky. Okay, because we think that we have control over the car rather than when you are traveling as a passenger. So these are the four types of bias, and we should be able to distinguish amongst them. Okay, so identify when given a situation, what are the bias that applies, the types of bias that applies. Okay, the last two factors that also may affect the degree of rationality of a person. The first one will be influence of alcohol. Okay, so studies already show that a drinker take more risk. Okay, why does this happen? Okay, because studies also shows that drinking alcohol actually affect our nerve system and affect our reaction. So we may not be able to think so rationally when we are under the influence of alcohol. So as a financial planner, we need to understand this clearly also. Why? Because when we are doing risk planning or we are doing any financial planning with our client, we may not want our client to make decision under the influence of alcohol, because this may cause them to do a decision which is not reflecting their risk behavior, and it may not be a rational action. And the final one will be the influence by party bearing the consequences. Okay, what does this mean by influence by party bearing the consequences? Okay, so it's like when the action, the loss or the risk will cause the loss to ourselves or our loved one, then it will affect our risk behavior. Okay, so when it's not affecting ourselves, then you may tend to be able to take a little bit higher risk compared to when it affects ourselves. Okay, so this is also why that in investment there's a need for professional fund manager. Okay, because professional fund manager will train and to manage the investment based on objective data compared to ourselves. Okay, so when we are doing the investment ourselves, because if let's say we lose money, then it will affect us or our families. So we tend to do decision not judging based on the objective data, but based on the bias. Okay, so we as a planner also, we need to understand that this is also why we should not act when there is a conflict of interest. Okay, when there is a conflict of interest affecting ourselves, then it will make us to do a not so rational decision. So we have done discussing about the factors affecting the degree of rationality, and I hope that everyone will be able to understand this, so that when we are dealing with our clients, we are able to identify the factor and we try to minimize the factor so that we can do a proper risk management planning with our clients.